Good morning. The focus of our video today is life and death pendulum healing. Now you might ask, what can a pendulum tell us about life and death? I've seen people, and I haven't looked at many. Yesterday I was looking just to see other examples of pendulum healing because I hadn't really looked at pendulum healing on YouTube. I'd looked at people showing how to get it to say yes and no and other simple things. But there is actually quite a bit of information on pendulum healing. I don't think that there's anybody who does it the same way I've learned to do it, and I did not learn this from anybody other than just the basic thing of checking chakras. When you talk about life and death, there's varying degrees of life, if you want to say, a process towards death. So it'd be interesting to be able to try to turn here. I look funny on this side. It's not that my head is bigger on that side. It's an effect of the camera for some reason. When we were born, of course, we're new. We gradually age to our death. Sometimes our death comes what we would say before time. As far as we know publicly, there's no one on earth who can live forever. That may not be true. But as a general process, we all consider that we grow old and die. Okay. As we're growing old, we're nearing death. Now, what I have, if you want to say, been shown or developed is a system of knowing basically how far or how we're going on that process toward death. Okay. Now, obviously, a person who's very young should be far from death. A person who's very old is most likely much closer to death. And I've developed a extremely simple system that shows how close to death we are. And the interesting thing with this is, then if I test this on a person before I start other aspects of their therapy, I can immediately tell the effect of the therapy I'm doing on their probable, but not absolutely for sure, of course, longevity. So, I'll tell you how I developed this, and then I'll start showing some examples. The examples we're going to have today, and this is going to be real interesting because a not very ordinary person at all that I've chosen is Stephen Hawking, the British, I'm not sure what his titles are, but he's very well known as very intelligent, very incapacitated. He was expected to die long ago, and this comes out in the Pendulum, as you will see. And yet he's still alive and has a lot of wisdom he's shared with people. We might not all agree with his, but he definitely is an interesting character. Another person we're going to just give a quick illustration of life and death is Fidel Castro. As you probably know, Fidel Castro died recently, so he's a good example of someone that everybody knows about who is definitely, and I can say this, definitely dead. Then we're going to give another example, and this is not really life, it's just kind of showing the connection ability that the pendulum has. We're going to communicate with Kim Jong-un. Kim Jong-un, the leader of North Korea. It's interesting, as we will see. And then, as an example of one that I've communicated with before, you might want to write this down at some point. I'll be repeating it also. There's a thing on the internet, and it's from CNN News, and rather than spelling out all the title, if you just look up, Trapped and Dying, No Help for Terminally Ill Syrian Boy. Okay? This came out, I believe, several months ago anyway. Yeah, in May 2016, of this little 6-year-old boy, Syrian refugee boy, dying, or so they assumed, of muscular dystrophy. And he was in very bad shape. There's pictures of him there. Okay? We're going to see the effect on him. Okay? So let's get started. Now, as you saw, when I'm working with the pendulum, I prefer to have it down about the level of my navel, but I have to hold it up here so you can see. Okay? I'm asking right now, do I have contact with the light? And the pendulum is clearly, I do not always try to hold my hand steady because I get so many people saying, "You're moving the pendulum." Believe me, those of us who use the pendulum seriously get very tired of all that. Our hand does move a little sometimes. There's a weight on a string here moving it. As you may notice, compared to my other videos, I've lost the glass. The poor thing fell on the floor and broke the glass. However, it seems to work equally well. So, do I believe in all this stuff about different powers of different pendulums? Not very much. The basic power is within us. The pendulum is just an indicator, okay? So I'm not going to go overboard and say, oh, this pendulum, I have to throw it away. I have to give it a decent burial. No, I'm going to continue using it because I like it. The glass was a little crooked anyway. It was glued in there crooked, okay? So I have contact with the light, okay? So how this major number that I'm going to come out, I absolutely have to explain this, where this come from. When I started, if you want to say, playing or investigating with the pendulum, this actual thing was like 2.5 years ago when this occurred. I started asking people's age just to see what the pendulum would say. And it usually said, you know, more or less a guess. It rarely said their exact age. I remember my neighbor's mom, it was within about 3 years of her age. And I thought, well, you know, it's basically guessing. But I wanted to see. I mean, the pendulum was giving me pretty exact information on other things. Why doesn't it tell people's age? And so obviously when it did that, I'm thinking, well, you know, there's maybe something else influencing it, you know, and maybe it just can't. It's the kind of thing it won't answer for some reason. But I went to a friend's place in our local big town, San Isidro, a friend who had a pizzeria there. And his name is Alex Calvo, and I said, Alex, let's see if the pendulum will tell me your age. So, and I'm not sure I've shown this before. The way my pendulum works, and that does not mean that yours will work the same, but my pendulum showed me this way of working. I did not tell it to do this. When I'm going to ask a multiple choice question, such as people's age, the pendulum will automatically, as soon as I'm thinking the thought, whether I say it out loud or not, the pendulum will automatically go side to side, like this. Okay? Now I'm going to show you Alex's age at that time, what it indicated, just so you see how the pendulum operates. It's going back and forth. As I get closer, as I start getting close to the correct number, it's going to start going in ovals, basically ovals, and then in circles. It's wanting to respond here. It's kind of waiting on me. Okay. I'm going to show you what happened that day with Alex, and this is important, okay? His age, okay, that I was asking that day. Now, as I found out, this wasn't his calendar age, it was another age, okay? But I just asked, what is Alex's age? And I'd say 5, 10, 15, see it's moving a little bit oval, 20, it's like going around in circles and swing back and forth. 25, but it's still very oval. It's probably 3 or 4 times as long as it is wide, the oval. 25, 30, 35, 36, 37. When I see it starting to get circular, then I start counting in smaller numbers. 38. See, it's actually close to circular, but not circular. 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48, 49, 50, 51. Okay. And I suppose this would keep spinning here indefinitely. I am not moving it. It's moving my hand a little bit. Where was I? Well, let me start with 50 again. 50, 51, 52, 53, 54, 55, 56. Pretty circular. I have to watch out or it'll hit me in the mouth here. 56. Okay, see it spinning. 56. 57. 57. Okay, this is how my pendulum answers multiple choice questions. When I go past, it loses energy and stops. That's 57. 57. I can think 57 all I want and it won't move. If I think 56, 56, it's going to start moving again. There's energy there. It's indicating the correct answer is 56. Okay, so it says Alex's age was 56. And Alex says, in Spanish, of course, but he says, my age isn't 56. Try it again. I did it again, and it again answered exactly 56 to the nearest year. Now, if it were just guessing, it probably would say, well, I was wrong. You know, if it's me guessing, I got to guess something else. I'd say 54. But it said 56. So Alex says, that thing doesn't work. I'm 48. Okay? So several days later, I'm thinking, what is that? It gives me a number and it doesn't change like it's guessing, but what does it mean? And I had, if you want to say, I thought of the magical question is, with that system, with how many years do we die? And I asked the pendulum, and it answered just the same way it always does, exactly 100. Okay? So, now, as I've seen a few other videos on pendulums, there are other people who are giving, you know, like the level of health of your skin is in the 70s. They come up with a little chart where the pendulum swings toward these different segments on a pie chart or something. Says your skin health is a 70. Okay, well, that's probably true, knowing pendulums, but it doesn't seem so useful, right? My skin health is 70, okay? Well, what's that going to do to me? Am I going to die early because of this? Well, with this system, you can actually answer that question. Okay, now, so Alex was 56. Alex actually had a lot of health problems. Now, with what I've seen, I would have thought he would have been like 75 or 80. But the interesting thing with Alex is these are health problems that bother him. He had one kidney removed and all this, but is actually not affecting his likely lifespan that much. In other words, he's relatively far from death. Okay? Now, so the pendulum says this. How do I know it's true? Well, my first main indicator of this was when my mom died in February of 2015, and I went to be with her 4 days, which was actually, I can't remember, maybe 10 days before she died. And her, if you want to say her worst day, I was checking this, and no, I could not stop her from dying. I do not claim that I stop people from dying when it is their natural time to die. However, with energy work, me and other people can very likely, and to me, absolutely, avoid premature death. Okay? And you're going to see a special one example of this. Okay, so my mother's energy age, like 5 days before she died or so, was 99.998. She was asleep at that time when I was testing, and I was in another room. I actually thought that she had died, and I was counting up very slowly. Not that I was afraid of death, because we expected her to die, but I was counting up very slowly, and I wouldn't have been surprised if it got to 100.00, and when I said 100.1, it stopped. But it didn't. It stopped at 99. It stopped right after 99.998. Okay, so I learned this, and that backed up the fact that what I was seeing was true. And as you're going to see, this is life and death. So the main thing we're going to emphasize now is this number. In another video, I'll get into the actual treatments of how these things affect people. Okay? And as I say, I don't want to make this too long. I think a very interesting patient will be Stephen Hawking. I'd like to have a little bit of background information on him. He was born in 1942. He's 74 years old. I haven't read the story recently, but basically he was not expected to live anywhere near this long. So likely his life expectancy, which we can also get out with the pendulum, would have been not too long, even a long time ago, compared to a normal person. Okay, I have actually asked my own life expectancy. The pendulum will not tell me when I'm going to die. It just swings back and forth and does not respond. That's not a question to ask. However, I've found that it will not tell me when I'm going to die, but it will tell me my life expectancy. Okay, and that's interesting. It doesn't say I'm going to die very soon, so I'm not too worried about it right now, okay? Okay, so we're going to start with these people, and I'm going to show you examples. And this first one is Stephen Hawking. Obviously, I assume he's in the UK. I have no idea where. I don't know If he's asleep, I checked him just a little while ago, so I know that he's not dead. And we're going to show some of this, just an example of him. We're also, because he's an interesting example, his health has been bad for, if you want to say, his health has been bad for a long time, his physical condition. Okay, and we're going to check that out. Okay, so I'm shortening the pendulums a little bit so you can see it. We're going to communicate with Stephen Hawking. Of course, we know who we're wanting to communicate with. Stephen Hawking, the paralyzed, he definitely is a genius and everything. Okay, when the pendulum stops rotating, we have communication with him. Okay, the pendulum has stopped rotating. Now it's swinging side to side because I'm going to start asking questions. This is for multiple choice questions. Okay, I'm in a movable chair, so it's, don't expect me to be totally immovable here. And if you don't want to believe this, you're seeing the wrong video, because believe me, it's all true. Okay, his energy age at this point, right now, 5, 10, 15. It's already moving a little bit. 20, but I don't expect it to be 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50. It's still a very big oval. 55, 60, 65, 70, 75, 80, 85, 90. Okay, 90 is he's 74. Anybody with an energy age above their calendar age, I consider that they have some kind of a health problem, okay? Which means we are possibly programmed to live about 100 years, okay? Okay, we're at 90 right now. 91, 92, 93, 94. I think it's close. I kind of feel that they're spinning real circular. 94, 94.1, 2. It's slowing down. But it's slowing down slowly. It's probably like 94.15. Okay, there's 94.15. It's still spinning. 94.16 is going to stop. Okay, 94.15. That's his energy age. That's fairly close to death. That does not mean in reality, he's probably less than 5 years from death. Okay? Now, interestingly, if you see my video, IQ Test World's Easiest, it's very easy to go back in time with a pendulum. And as you're going to see, it's also easy to go into the future. With I think the word is caveat, that don't believe everything about the future. These are only possibilities, okay? And I will not normally do what I'm going to do for Stephen Hawking. Number one, he doesn't know we're doing this, so he's not going to get all excited if the pendulum shows his life expectancy is 2 days. He's not going to get all upset because he doesn't know it. And believe me, it's not 2 days. I already checked. I don't want to work with things so close to death. So we're going to see, first we're going to go back in time. We're going to connect to Stephen Hawking. Let's see, he's 74. Let's connect with him every 20 years. So let's go back to when Stephen Hawking was 54. Connect to him at age 54. Notice 20 years ago. Not necessarily on his birthday, 20 years ago. Okay, we have the connection. What was his energy age then? Now, a normal person at age 54, their energy age should not be above about 50 or so, right? Okay, his energy age then, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, starting to move, 55, 56, 57, 58, 59, 60, 61, 62, 63, 64, 65, 66, 67, 68, 69, 70, 71, 72, 73, 74, 75, 76, 77, 78, 79, 80, 81, 82, 83, 84, 85, 86, 87, 88, 89. It's getting close. 89.1, 2, 3, 89.4, and it's going to stop. 89.3. That was 20 years ago. Now, as you remember, they always considered a miracle that he has lived this long. He was always considered to be in very bad physical condition. Okay, that was at age 54. Let's connect with him back 40 years to age 34. Okay, now let's check his energy age at age 34. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 81, 82, 83, 84, 85, 86, 87, 88, 89, 90. It's even higher at age 34. 90, 91, 92. It's real close. 92.1, 2. It's going to maintain at 92.2, 92.3. Okay, that's at age 34. Okay? Now, as I say, I do not normally do this with patients. At least I don't show it to them. Let's just... the pendulum gives us life expectancy, not a guaranteed date when you're going to die. Okay? Now, the way I get out life expectancy, and I say I'm not recommending you do this, however, I'm showing the abilities of the pendulum to go into the future. We are connected with him 40 years ago when he was 34. Let's, at that point, now we're not coming back into the future, but from that point we're going into his possible future to see when was his what was his life expectancy at that time. Okay? And he did not die close to that time. Obviously he's still alive. Okay, we are connected to him. I'm going to connect to what I consider a good indicator of being alive, and that's our heart chakra. Most people's heart chakra is working okay. Okay, let's connect to his heart chakra at that time. His heart chakra is spinning correctly. Okay? Now, let's go forward from that time, as if we were doing this test 40 years ago. Let's go forward from that time and watch his heart chakra. We'll go forward 1 year, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's weakening. 5.1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5.5 years from then it stopped. Now let's, just to make sure it's not temporary, let's go 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 20. Okay? At that time, his life expectancy was whatever it came out there, 5.5 years. Okay? And I can't even remember, his energy age was 90 something there, right? So it's pretty similar. His life expectancy is about 5 years. Okay? Let's come back to him now. We could do this at any time during his life. We could make a graph. And believe me, when I have done this, I can do it one day, write it down, do it another day. There's usually a slight error, but within a couple percentage. I get the same numbers without looking at my old numbers. I get the same numbers again. This works for IQ tests, level of conscience, all these other tests I do. If I just get the number one time, I'd say, oh, okay, well, it's just inventing a number. Well, it's not just inventing a number. It gives, within a very small percentage, gives the same number again. Okay? Okay, let's connect back to Stephen Hawking in the present time now. And I say, he's going to be a subject of our therapy. So if it says he's going to die next year, don't worry too much about it. Because we can change that. Okay? And we will in our next video. Okay, we have connection with him now. Let's ask his energy age right now. Okay, we've already asked that. I can't remember what it was. I don't think it will have changed, but it may have changed by a very small percentage. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, 55, 60, 65, 70, 75, 80, 85, 90, 91, 92, 93, 94, 94.1, 2, 3, 4, 94.5. It's losing energy. So somewhere between 94 and 95. Okay, I don't remember what I got the first time. I really don't. All these 90s. Okay, but even if it's off like a year or so, I wouldn't worry about it. That's within the errors that I have. Let's say roughly 94 and 0.5 or whatever. Okay, now let's connect to his heart chakra. Okay, here is his heart chakra now. And let's count forward in months and see what happens to his heart chakra. 1 month, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. It's definitely slowing down. It's weak, but it's still spinning at 19, 20. Moving very weakly, but it's still moving. 21, 21, 22, 23, 24. Okay? At this point, without doing a therapy, his heart chakra, this is his life expectancy. I'm not saying his guaranteed time to die, but his life expectancy is something like 20 months. And I read recently that he's getting sicker or something, okay? However, don't worry, because we'll be working on that. And it will be interesting to see what effect it actually has, because I don't know if he could, with a pendulum therapy, have some kind of a major recovery. It would surprise me a little, because he's been that way this long. However, we're definitely not going to hurt him. We do absolutely nothing to hurt people. And also, I'm doing these tests, and you notice I did not ask permission to do the tests. I'm always told you need to ask permission. Well, I ask permission before I change anything. If I'm going to do a therapy on him, I would ask permission. Now, if it has happened very few times, but if I actually start communicating with someone and the pendulum goes like this, toward me and away from me, that means that I am being blocked. Okay? And if I'm being blocked, that means I do not have permission, at least not without asking. Usually I can ask and possibly communicate the reason that I want communication, and then I will be allowed. Okay? So if you want to say that they, to some extent, defend themselves, so but we should not violate their will. Okay? And I will normally, before I actually start a therapy on someone, I will usually ask. The truth is, I often forget, and I've almost never been blocked, but it has happened, and I consider that that's normally their right when it is the person. However, usually when I'm blocked, it is some other entity who doesn't want me to help that person. In which case, I already told you in my other videos what to do when you have entities stopping or blocking the pendulum. Okay? Now, that's Stephen Hawking going to say. He's going to be our patient. And I think it'll be interesting. He's, a known person with big problems. Okay. Now, what happens when we die? Well, I told you my mother's case, right before her death, she was 99.998. After she died, then her energy age was like 100.1, 100.3, 100.5. And evidently this happened, or I still had this communication with her for a time period until she went on to her next, if you want to say, her next project. Okay? I don't think I have that communication with her anymore. Okay? Because where she is now is, this energy age is no longer relevant as far as a changing measure of people's advancement toward their goal. Okay? So, but we're going to communicate with Fidel Castro. Okay? And let's start. He died not too long ago. Let's communicate with him 1 year ago. Okay? Notice the pendulum picked up a little bit of energy. Has to target. Okay? Fidel Castro 1 year ago. His energy age. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, 55, 60, 65, 66, 67, 68, 69, 70, 71, 72, 73, 74, 75, 76, 77, 78, 79, 80, 81, 82, 83, 84, 85, 86, 87, 88, 89, 90, 91, 92, 93, 94, 95, 96, 97, 98.1 to, it's slowing down, 98.2, but it's still rotating. What did I say, 98.2, 98.3, it's going to stop. 98.2, probably a little bit under 98.2. Let's say 98.2, okay? Now, let's check him right now, Fidel Castro. Okay, his energy age right now. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 91, 92, 93, 94, 95, 96, 97, 98, 99, 100, 100.1, 100.2, 100.3, and it's going to stop. 100.2. Excuse me. They do go up. Not at the same rate as here on Earth. They generally go up quite a bit faster on the other side. I believe it depends on their progress. Okay? That's an example. Fidel Castro. Now, what use is this? Well, I can tell when people have died. I've had about 3 cases, though, of people who measured over 100, and we assume that they're dead, or I assume that they're dead, and then they come back to life. These were all people who went through traumatic experiences. One was a girl who, I won't tell what she went through, but it was probably horrible, who was disappeared and then was found a few days later. A man in Venezuela who I had communication with, who went through a very serious operation. During the operation, he went over 100, but came back. And a woman here local who was in a car wreck. Her husband was killed, and when I communicated with her, she actually went over 100 for a short period and then came back. Okay, I haven't talked with these people to know if they have a memory of this or what happened. I don't know. But just because they go over 100 at one point during the death process or a serious condition does not necessarily mean that they have died permanently. Okay, I'm assuming it means they have died temporarily. Okay. Now, I have here the example of Kim Jong-un, and I have him because I want to do therapy with him, investigate him. You know, very few people on Earth are more unknown. Very few important people on Earth are more unknown outside their own country and their own small circle than Kim Jong-un. Okay? And as you're going to see, I don't consider him as bad as he is painted. But let's see. We expect him to have some health problems. Let's connect with him right now. He seems to be overweight. There's been some rumors of something, but okay. Let's see. His energy age right now, and I don't know how old he is. His energy age right now: 5, 10, 15. See, it's already moving. 20, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32. It's real close. 32.1, 32.2. It's going to stop. 32.1. Okay, that's Kim Jong-un. As I say, we're going to get back to him because it's interesting to be able to communicate personally with these people. As you notice, I was not blocked from testing that. Okay. Now, my last example here of, as I say, this is life and death. Okay. Now, the next time we're getting into healing, and I may come up with some other good patient to do, but Stephen Hawking will be interesting. He will not be a normal patient, of course, but he'll be interesting. Now we're going to go to this little Syrian boy. And as I said, this is on CNN News. The easiest way to find it is up here. It says Syrian boy dying in refugee camp up in the link, and the actual title is Trapped and Dying, No Help for Terminally Ill Syrian Boy. Okay? And this little boy, his name is here. I do not necessarily need their names. I can communicate with a picture. And the reason I'm saying all this is for you to investigate what you can do. I'm not saying that you can do all this. I haven't asked how many people can do this. I've asked how many people can do the general things that I do, and the Pendulum says the last I checked, about 15,000 people on Earth. And I'd ask how many of us know that we can do them. The first time I asked, probably a year or a little more ago, the Pendulum said there were 54 of us that knew we could do these things. And the last I checked, which has been a few months ago, there were like 110, 115 of us. Okay? So, but there are over 15,000 of us worldwide that can do this. Maybe you're of them. And if you can't, don't worry. There's still a lot you can do of useful things with the pendulum. But this is just kind of show you how amazing this is. You know, contact Nostradamus. I assume you heard of a prophet, actually a medical doctor of the, I believe, 15th century France, who was very, very successful. He used, for example, hypnosis, so his patients wouldn't feel the pain. He did a lot of interesting stuff. Obviously, he was a genius. And there's a book called, I can't remember, Dolores Cannon, D-O-L-O-R-E-S, Cannon, the hypnotist, actually wrote 3 books channeled by Nostradamus. And he said when he saw the future, he saw it like a cloth. And where the cloth was wrinkled, something major was happening. And he could just like focus on that wrinkled area, and then he would have the vision of what was happening. Well, I don't have visions with the pendulum, but when my pendulum is spinning like this, to put it this way, it's going over that cloth, finding where it wants to penetrate and see the reality of that situation. Okay? And that's what we're doing. Now, okay, back to the little Syrian boy. He was 6 years old. He's dying of muscular dystrophy. They had left Syria because they couldn't get no medicines for him. They were in a refugee camp. They still couldn't get any help for him. And the reporters found them, filmed this, obviously, impressive news item about them, which is what the news people are looking for. I'm not saying they care that much about the Syrian boy. They're more interested in getting a good story that people will read. Okay? So, he's 6 years old, they have muscular dystrophy. His little sister, who's like 1.5, was coming down with symptoms also. My computer did something strange here. Let me get back to my desktop. Okay? So, I connected with this boy at that time, and his picture's right here. There's a video. As I was going to say, so I can communicate with people. If you have and this gets far out, there were some pictures of on the internet, on YouTube, of unlikely pictures. There's a bunch of ghosts there, and then there's other pictures where people are standing there, and there's an extra hand in the picture, but you don't see a person there. Well, with the pendulum, I can actually communicate with that hand in the picture through their hand and get the energy age and ask whether it's a man or a woman, all kinds of stuff. Okay, this is what's possible with the pendulum. So I'm going to communicate now with the picture. It's a still from a video. The picture of this little Syrian boy here with his mother and his little sister. Okay, it's the main picture on this thing, which says, as I just said, I scroll up to the title again. Trapped and dying, no help for terminally ill Syrian boy. Okay, this is on CNN. I believe it said May. Okay, I'm going to communicate with this little boy here. And his name is Alyamandar. Okay, I'm communicate with Alyamandar. I don't need to know his name. Okay, now I have communication with him at the point of this picture. Okay, and this is very important. This is in May. His energy age. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, 55, 60, 65, 70, 75, 80, 85, 86, 87, 88, 89, 90. A 6-year-old boy over 90, right? 91, 92, 93, 94, 95, 96, 96.1, 2, 3, it's getting close. 96.4, it's slowing down. 96.3. Okay? Now, I'm going to communicate with him at this moment. At this moment, connection with him. This was in May. It said he's terminally ill, right? There was no hope. There was only hope of alleviating his suffering a little, okay? His energy age right now. 0.1. It's already moving. 0.2, 0.3, 0.4, 0.5, 0.6, 0.7, 0.8, 0.9, 1, 1.1, 1.2, 1.3, 1.4, 1.5, 1.6, 1.7, 1.8, 1.9, 2, 2.1, 2.2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 3, 3.1, 2, 3, 4, 3.5, 3.6, 3.6, and it's still rotating but slowly. So it's a little under 3.6, 3.7. Okay? 3.6 years old is his energy age, and he's 6. That's excellent for a 6-year-old boy. Okay? Why didn't he die? Well, this is where people won't believe me. I was actually shown a new therapy in hypnosis, the energy of my hands. I used it, the angel who I talked to, I call them angels. They call themselves traveler's guides, usually, but let's call them guides. The guide, my wife had pain in her stomach and bad headaches that were both from the same thing, some kind of infection. And the guide showed me how to use my hand to heal my wife, and it worked. Okay, it worked. So I thought, well, maybe I can use that same energy and just, everything is energy. Maybe I can just send it with the pendulum. And this little boy was possibly my first patient with that, and I didn't know what was going to happen. And I connected to him, and I knew he was in bad shape. You know, I had not really expected that I could save his life. It would not have totally surprised me, but I didn't really expect it. And I had just sent him the energy of my hands, and the pendulum started spinning. The pendulum spun for 27 minutes. And I haven't gone back and done even the rest of a complete therapy on this little boy. I haven't. The pendulum spun for 27 minutes, and this is the result. And this has been 5 months or so ago. This boy, I have seen, let's say, at least dozens, if not hundreds, of people where I get an accurate energy age for them that reveals their health. And a lot of these are people I know, and I know that they're feeling better, and their energy age go down. I have no doubt that I have an actual communication with this little boy, and that he is fully recovered from his muscular dystrophy. And his little sister, who I think was like his little sister looks bigger. Maybe she's 3 or something. Her energy age, they said they were showing signs of muscular dystrophy in her.